Hey there, you're listening to the Scale to Sell podcast, the business owner's podcast to grow and exit your business, where we share with entrepreneurs like you the tactical and practical things you can do to scale your business and create an exit strategy that works for your retirement plan. I'm Adam Burton, part of the father-son duo behind Scale to Sell. I'm an attorney with marketing and business development experience, and I'm joined by my dad, Steve. He's an entrepreneur himself and a financial advisor who's been in the financial services industry for over 2 decades. His expertise securing his clients' retirement income and his experience owning and operating businesses gives him unique insight into what it takes for business owners to scale and sell their business successfully. Okay, Steve, I know that you've heard the phrase expect the unexpected, partly because I know that we both watch a certain game show on TV that has that as their motto. Today's topic is, what's your exit plan? And we begin with a reality check that is important for every business owner. One way or another, you are going to exit your business, right? Like one way or another, there's going to come a point where you're not in the business. The question is, will you exit on your terms?
No doubt. People tell me that all the time. Steve, I love what I do. I'm going to work forever. No, you're not. They may carry you out in a box, but you will not work forever because you're not going to live forever. I hate to be crude, but it's just a reality. There's other things. It's not just death. Sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes it's a stroke, a heart attack that takes you, or you just become... you're ready to retire, you're burnt out. There's so many things that will take that business away from the business, or the business away from you. So there's a lot to consider right there. And having the plan will give you peace of mind, knowing, and it'll give you more, we've talked about it last time, it'll make the business more profitable, give you more time to enjoy life now, and or sell the business, whether it's an internal sale to a family member, operations person, or an external sell to somebody else, but you better have an exit plan in place.
Well, so this is the classic case of expect the unexpected, right? You have your intended goal, but you also have things in place to be able to understand what happens if that doesn't go well, and how can I protect myself from those situations that could come up that I'm not planning on, right? So let's talk about the different ways that people exit their business. Obviously, retirement is one that people think about. Eventually, they're going to come to a point where they decide, hey, I want to do something else with my life. I'm done with this business. There you go.
So in the retirement situation, there's stats out there. Again, I mentioned this last time. I'm an executive producer on a movie about mergers and acquisitions. And this was a stat that blew my mind, that 80% of all small business owners will never successfully exit their business. What does that mean? They'll try to sell it. There's not enough value there. They thought it was worth more. They just didn't have systems and process set up. So you've got to have, if you're going to sell it, it's got to have programs, processes, teams in place, your customers, and then your numbers got to make sense. And then when you sell that business, do you have a realistic idea of what it's worth, net of taxes and fees? And then do you have enough separate assets, personal assets, where you can maintain that lifestyle that you've worked so hard and become accustomed to, so you can sell it, commingle with your personal assets, and sell on to the sunset?
Right. So retirement, the intentional choice to be able to step away from the business, to move on to other things that you're wanting to do, and not just continue on with the day-to-day and all the different things going on there. I found this staggering, right? So Christopher Snyder of the Exit Planning Institute, someone that you've studied under, you've read a lot from, and different things, 50% of businesses, so half of them, will end due to one of the 5 Ds. What are those? Death,
divorce, disability, distress, or disagreement with a partner or family member, whatever it might be. The 5 Ds, that's separate from retirement, right? And can really destroy that business in record time if you don't have processes put in place.
So why is that such a problem when thinking about someone's retirement financial plan, right? So this is kind of going to your background and your expertise in the financial industry. If someone is thinking, oh, I'm just going to keep working forever, or one day I'll retire and we'll go with that, but one of these other alternative ways for them to end, happens, like what ramifications could we see as a part of their personal financial plan if their professional one ends differently than what they're expecting?
Well, one, if the business is not, because you're central to the business and you're not there to run it because of one of these 5Ds, because something's happened health-wise or whatever it might be, now the business is worth less and you have to accept less. And now one or two things happen. You can't sell it. Can you keep it going? And if you do sell it, you got to get less money with your personal finances, and it's going to be a struggle. And we've seen it, unfortunately, happen far too many times.
Yeah, classic game of the what ifs of life happening and not having a plan in place for knowing what's going to happen in the future and what do I do in response to those different challenges. And if you don't consider what your exit looks like, you're giving up that intentionality of doing things on your terms, or at least in the situation that's going to best provide for you and your family and the different things that you care about. If you're just leaving your exit up to chance without thinking about the future and about thinking about how you could take care of yourself, your business, your family, all of those things in case something happens.
I've seen people come in to see me, take away business owners for a second, and somebody comes in and their spouse did all the finances, and they walk in and they've lost their spouse. Something's happened dramatically, and they're like a deer in the headlight. I've seen them say they don't know how to pay the bills, don't know how to write the checks, don't know where this is, that is. The business just complicates it even more so. So if that business is 80% of your net worth and something happens, you don't die, you can't work in the business because you gotten hurt or there's an illness. And now your family member, you're somebody in your family, somebody's going to have to step in and do things. So that's why it's so important to have processes. You're going to hear us talk in those podcasts to come about if you sell the business, you get a value, and then you got worst in class, you got best in class, and you got somewhere in the middle. What's that mean? That means the higher multiple you get because you have systems and things documented, teams in place. All these things are just, exit planning is good business planning. It's more profitable for you, and it helps in case one of these 5Ds ever comes up and enters your life and really messes up your business.
That's like the quote of the day: exit planning is good business planning. I like that one. Well, and that's part of what we were discussing last episode, right? Like people that often don't plan because either they have misconceptions about what that means. They don't want to think about the difficult things or the tragedies that could come up or what it would look like for them to not be a part of the business. The fear of the unknown, all these sorts of things keep them from wanting to ask these questions, to take the proactive steps of figuring out what that looks like, being able to provide for themselves or their families, keep the business going so that they can get what they want out of it, which ends up leading to some pretty disastrous results.
It sounds like there's a lot. This is not something that you're gonna, if you're ready to sell your business may be ready to sell today. There's typically at least some things you want to tidy up or whatever, but back to the coaching. What our team was there to help you out and coach you through these different steps to make you take a little step, you take another baby step, and all of a sudden your business is starting to grow and run smoother. And in the back of your head that if something happens, there's an outline, there's a game plan. That way, hey, you guys do this. If I'm not around anymore, this, and this happens in the business. And that is sellable. That is marketable to somebody buying your business because of the processes, the teams, and the people.
Well, and we talk about this a lot in, outside of the business world, but being able to have a retirement plan that works in good times and in bad, and the peace of mind that provides despite the situations going on in life around you or the things that could come up that maybe you weren't wanting or, hoping weren't going to happen. But it provides that peace of mind that you have a plan. And to have taken the time to answer those questions, to have a good exit plan, and to understand what does this look like if this doesn't go perfectly is definitely the reason to have someone like yourself, like others, who do this all the time, who ask these questions, who help business owners get clarity on what they're wanting, how to get there, how to exit the business, and to make sure that they're protecting in most cases, what is their largest asset, their business, and what that means for their personal financial plan.
Scaling the business to make sure it's more profitable now, have a better life now, and get a better multiple when you go to exit the business. That's a vital, important part of this whole process, scaling the business. It's not just about the exit. You will exit at some point in time, but it's about the growth of the business. And you said it earlier. We as business owners are always, we're there, 5 a.m. to 9 or 10 or whatever at night, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And anyway, and sometimes we get it where it's on cruise control. But my point is that we get all these things going and we're working on the business, right? Well, actually, we're working in the business. I had to force myself to take some time to step back, to start tweaking some things out about my business so I can make myself less vital to the success of all of my businesses, not just the one or whatever. And so you need to do the same thing. And it sounds like, well, I can't afford to do that. You can't afford not to. You'd be shocked and surprised. I wanted to add one other thing. We added these 5 Ds, but I would talk to any number of business owners that their business, they was doing well and now they're burnt out. Talked to somebody recently and I'm burnt out. Well, when we asked them for their last 12 months of their last year's tax returns, and they were kind of surprised, well, what about the last 5 years of tax returns? That's not what people that are buying your business are looking for. They're looking over the last 12 months. They're looking for trends. That made because that client had taken the foot off the accelerator, didn't have everything in place. They had teams, they had a successful business, but their numbers weren't as attractive over the last 12 months because of burnout. Right? And you never know when that comes up. Maybe it's, employees, hiring and retaining employees right now is a struggle. Maybe it's a government situation, a contractor. Maybe it's just, I was happy with this business. Now I didn't think I'd ever retire. Now I'm burnt out. I hear that one a lot, Adam. And so it's important. That's another reason. That's not even on here as part of I guess it's part of the distress. Maybe but we're talking about a different distress than that D right there.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point and something that we're definitely will be coming up in a future episode on the podcast here about burnout. But we have this phrase that we like to use, scale with the end in mind, and having a picture of what you're wanting to achieve, how you can achieve it, and what happens if that doesn't go perfectly. And it can feel like a dark question to have to think through. But again, expect the unexpected and making sure that you have a plan. So today's takeaway, you're going to exit your business at some point, right? It's just the reality check. We have to deal with it. The question is, will your exit be on your terms? Do you have a written plan that takes into account the unexpected? Does it account for those unintended situations that could arise, and does it protect your personal and financial interests? If you liked this episode and want to hear more from the Scale to Sell podcast, please follow the show on your podcast platform of choice so that you never miss an episode. As a new and growing podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast would be incredibly helpful so that more entrepreneurs like you can find our content and join our growing community. See you next time on the Scale to Sell podcast.